Yeah. I made an M off a daily fantasy. His number too high, then I'm probably fading him. He been on the road, he gon' eat up my salary. I hit up by, he gon' lie before lock. Play back to back, then I probably won't pick on the DFS bachelor. Good as it gets. Build a few liners and hit me a leg. He had a good game, but it might be a trick. Log in the Slack so I know who to pick. Sharing our liners, we all gon' get rich. New to this game, you should come to the pad. You might want some cash and get a good laugh. DFS sports, we gon' run up a bag. He heard every game and it's making me mad. You buying your lineups, I think you a cheater. DFS bachelor, he the new leader. Yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Bachelor Pad. I, of course, am your host of DFS Bachelor, and we're going to go over our Fanduel and Draftkings NFL slate for the divisional round of the playoffs. Of course, it's 4 games. First things first, thank you for all your support. Seriously, I do appreciate it. It's very humbling that you guys make me a part of your day. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the team. Be sure to hit subscribe down below. Get access to all of our NBA, NFL content. Lots of stuff. There's going to be about 4 videos here that I'm starting to work on right now, so getting all this stuff out. So hit subscribe if you're so inclined to do so. Also, by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment in the comment section, you qualify for our weekly $25 PayPal giveaway. That is sponsored by Draft Dashboard. Thank you to them. We announce that winner every Monday morning. Draft Dashboard is where we're going over all the stats, defense, history versus opponent, price on both sides, touches, snaps, rushes. You can set your exposures here. I get asked, some people go, I don't see the box on Draft Dashboard. You got to zoom out sometimes. I have this on a pretty big screen over here, so I'm able to see all the boxes because there's just a lot of information. Setting all that, same for NBA, player pool, cheat sheets, lineup optimizer, etc. You can get access to this tool and my player pool by simply clicking that link in the video description below. You can try Draft Dashboard 30 days for $1. So let me get a drink of water. Let's do that. I'm exhausted the last few days, so I apologize if I seem lethargic. I'm trying not to be. I even drank coffee. Didn't matter. Usually coffee gets me all jittery. No, didn't happen this time. I'm just getting old. Feeling old every day. Every damn day. Okay, let's get started. So at quarterback, of course, Lamar Jackson. We know the huge rushing upside, rested against the Tennessee team that's 18th against opposing quarterbacks. He's expensive. 8-4 on DraftKings, 9-4 on Fanduel. I will have exposure, of course, to Lamar Jackson, but I do like the price better for Patrick Mahomes. And I think there's some big upside for Patrick Mahomes. The Texans allow the 3rd most fantasy points in the league to opposing quarterbacks. The Texans have an absolutely terrible secondary. These two teams played in Kansas City earlier this year. It was like week 6 or 7. Week 7, I want to say. Mahomes threw 3 touchdowns, 273 yards. Deshaun Watson had 31 fantasy points, but you got to remember 16 of those points came on the ground. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in that game. I love the price for Mahomes. He's $900 cheaper on DraftKings. He's $800 cheaper on FanDuel. I do like Mahomes a lot this week. Watson, of course, I'll have exposure to. He's down at 6-7 on DraftKings. I like that price. 8-3 on FanDuel is a bit high. You know, all the quarterbacks, really, like the ones I'm probably least interested in, of course, are Tannehill and Kirk Cousins. I like the price for Jimmy Garoppolo down here at 5-6. Even though Minnesota 8th against opposing quarterbacks, that secondary for Minnesota is not very good. They've gone backwards, and they played good last week against Drew Brees. I'll give you that in New Orleans. The 49ers are a different kind of passing attack. With the Saints, you know it's going to be Michael Thomas. The 49ers change directions a lot of motion. Deebo Samuel, Emmanuel Sanders, George Kittle. They have a lot more variety to their passing attack than the Saints do. I'm not saying they're a better passing attack by any stretch of the imagination, but they do have more ways they can attack you. I think the price for Jimmy G on DraftKings at 5-6, if you're looking for value at quarterback, that's the way to go. Really, if I'm ranking it, I'd have Mahomes 1 this week just because of the price, Lamar 2, Watson 3, Jimmy G 4, probably Russell Wilson 5, Rodgers 6, Cousins 7, Tannehill 8. That's how I'd rank the quarterbacks, if that makes it easier. I think that pretty much gets it out of the way. That Green Bay-Seattle game, it's going to be fucking cold in Lambeau, man. It's going to be cold. I'm going to keep an eye on the weather all the way up until, you know, the last minute, especially if I'm just doing the Sunday-only games because, yeah, it's going to be super cold. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a one-score game like every Seattle game is. The Packers have a good secondary. I'm not sure how much Russell Wilson I'm going to have, but he does have that rushing upside, of course, and in the playoffs, he tends to run more than he does in the regular season, obviously. Good secondary, though, in Green Bay. Let's go to running backs. So, Derrick Henry, of course, we know he has the massive upside. Baltimore 8th against opposing running backs, but if Tennessee has any shot of pulling off the upset, it's going to be on Derrick Henry's shoulders. Dalvin Cook, another tough matchup. The 49ers 3rd against opposing running backs. I'm still going to have some exposure to Dalvin Cook. Now, I think there's value in the mid-tier, the 5 to 6K range, where I'm going to be having the most exposure at running back. But in some tournaments, of course, the upside of Dalvin Cook, that 49ers secondary is really good, so I do think Dalvin Cook will be even more of a factor in the passing game this week. He put up a 28 against the Saints in New Orleans last week. He's 8K on both sides. Look at Derrick Henry, 9.6 on FanDuel. I just don't know how much of Derrick Henry at that price because I just think there's better options down here below. Aaron Jones, probably my favorite running back to pay up for. 7.4 on DraftKings, 8.2 on FanDuel. Seattle, 20th against opposing running backs. Mark Ingram finally practiced today. It's iffy. It's a tournament play only. There's a lot of risk there. It doesn't seem like he's fully healthy with that setback he had a few days ago. Of course, he's going to play. He's going to get red zone touches. Even when he's fully healthy and up to speed, he only plays like 45-50% of the snaps. He doesn't play a ton of the snaps. Gus Edwards, etc. I think Gus Edwards is an interesting value running back on FanDuel. Not so much on DraftKings because he's just not a part of that passing game at all. Damian Williams. I like Damian Williams a lot. The Texans allow the 7th most fantasy points in the league to opposing running backs. He's part of the passing game. He had 7 targets that last Week 17 game. 10 targets his last 2 games. He's got 52 DraftKings points in those 2 games. Didn't do much in that first meeting. He only had 1 carry. He's kind of coming. I don't know if he got hurt that game or was coming back from injury. I can't remember. It was LaShawn McCoy led the team in carries with like 8 carries. They just didn't run the ball a whole lot, but I think that's different this time around. I like his upside in the passing game. 6K on DraftKings, 6.9 on FanDuel. I like Damian Williams. Raheem Mostert for the 49ers. Of course, we know the 49ers are a running team, and their lead back is Raheem Mostert. He's had something like 2 touchdowns in every, or a touchdown in every game since like week 11 or 12, something like that. Maybe even 2 touchdowns per game. 5.8 on DraftKings. Love that price on DraftKings. He's going to be their goal line back too. That's who they go to in the goal line. The one frustration with the 49ers, of course, my 49ers, big game this weekend, is that they use 3 running backs. Now, Matt Breida has been used very, very sparingly. Tevin Coleman. Looks like Mostert's going to be the guy I will have exposure there. I do actually like Travis Homer this week. His price is right. 5.1 on DraftKings, 5.5 on FanDuel. The Packers, a good secondary. They struggle against the run. They're 23rd against opposing running backs. I'll have some exposure to Travis Homer, but on DraftKings, especially for 100 cheaper, I like Carlos Hyde. Former Chief, revenge narrative here. He torched him in Week 7, 26 carries, 116 yards, and a touchdown. The Chiefs, another team with a good secondary, much improved from last season. This isn't the same. Now, they did lose that young safety, Thornhill, and that's a big loss for that Chiefs secondary. But Carlos Hyde is going to be a big factor in this game. That's how Houston's going to pull off the upset in Arrowhead, is keeping Mahomes on the sideline, running the ball to Carlos Hyde. The Chiefs, 27th against opposing running backs. I love the price for Carlos Hyde. 5K on DraftKings, 6.4 on FanDuel. And then if you're looking for some like deep sleeper, like tournament sleepers down here for cheap, Duke Johnson at 4.7 and 5.6 against Kansas City. That first game against him, he had 5 carries. He was also targeted 4 times. So there is some upside. He got into the end zone on one of Deshaun Watson's only passing touchdown in that game. LaShawn McCoy should play. They've been resting him for the playoffs, so you will see some LaShawn McCoy. Again, deep sort of tournament sleeper. If you're worried about, like, if you want to play a backup, maybe the starting running back gets hurt. If you want to get real crazy with it, Alexander Madison, maybe Justice Hill. Again, deep sleepers. Jamal Williams at 4.6. Some exposure there as well. But again, we'll have to see if he comes back from that shoulder injury. I believe he's expected to play. So that's running back. Let's go to wide receivers. With 4 games, we're just going to cover a lot of those sleepers just because there's a lot of different ways that can go, and you don't want to, all it takes is one guy to set you apart. So that's why we talk about some of those crazier options. So, wide receiver, Devontae Adams, of course. He's the Michael Thomas of the Packers. Look at his last 3 games, 13, 16, and 13 targets. That's 42 targets in 3 games. 20-plus DraftKings points in 4 of his last 5 games. Devontae Adams against the Seattle team, who's 15th against opposing wide receivers. He's going to see a lot of Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers is a good player, but he still allowed 0.31 fantasy points per route ran against and was targeted on 21% of his defensive routes during the regular season. I like Devontae Adams a lot. Tyreek Hill is going to see Garyon Conley, Jonathan Joseph, Vernon Hargraves, a very vulnerable secondary. They were 20th against opposing wide receivers. He had 2 touchdowns that first meeting earlier this season. What did he have? 5 catches, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was also targeted 10 times. Of course, I will have exposure to Tyreek Hill. DeAndre Hopkins. Again, tough secondary in Kansas City. The young secondary is good. It is a big loss losing Thornhill, but he's going to see Charvarius Ward or Brashad Breeland on the outside. They gave up 0.19 and 0.22 fantasy points per out ran against. Tyrann Mathieu will be in the slot, etc. I do like Hopkins. He had a decent game that first time they played. 9 catches, 55 yards, nothing down the field. Was targeted 12 times. Of course, some tournament exposure in your Deshaun Watson lines if you want to pair him with DeAndre Hopkins. Makes a ton of sense. Excuse me, had to cough that out. DK Metcalf, quickly becoming the go-to guy for Russell Wilson. Again, that Packers secondary is a good secondary. They're 11th in the league this year against opposing wide receivers. Kevin King, Jair Alexander, when he's on the left side and he sees Kevin King, that's where they're going to attack with DK Metcalf. So he's got that big play upside. Obviously, we know he was the wide receiver to have last week in to win all the money. Put up a 32 last week on 9 targets. He's been targeted 21 times the last 2 games. 6'8 on DraftKings, 7K on Fanduel. I like DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett, tournament play only. Adam Thielen, injured or ill, may not play this weekend. So that's something to keep an eye on, Adam Thielen. The 49ers were 14th against opposing wide receivers. That's an excellent secondary. Richard Sherman's back fully healthy. It's going to be tough sledding for Thielen and Diggs. I will have some tournament exposure to Diggs, the big play upside at 5'6 and 6'8. A couple of the 49ers wide receivers I like in this price range. The Vikings, 24th against opposing wide receivers. Also, just Xavier Rhodes is not the same player. He and Trey Wayans got lit up all year long. They gave up 0.38 and 0.39 fantasy points per out ran against. Mackenzie Alexander was better in the slot, giving up 0.28. But I like Deebo Samuel. I like Emmanuel Sanders. I think they're both in play. If Will Fuller is healthy, sure. But of course, he's always got a hamstring or a groin, and it's very iffy. So even if he's active, it's tournament play only. So some value. Kenny Stills, 4,800 on DraftKings, 5.7 on FanDuel. Look at the Chiefs this year. 3rd against opposing wide receivers. They are a tough secondary. I know it's not the same kind of Chiefs defense as in the past. We talked about their corners, but he'll line up a lot in the slot, and that's where Kansas City is more vulnerable. Ward and Breeland were excellent on the outside. And then some lower price guys just for value in tournaments. Alan Lazard, 17 targets over the last 2 weeks. He's 4.5 on DraftKings, 5.4 on FanDuel. I like him for a value receiver. Marquise Brown, boom or bust. It wouldn't shock me if Lamar Jackson hits him for a deep touchdown this weekend. He's 4.4 on DraftKings, 5.3 on FanDuel. I love that DraftKings price for Marquise Brown. Tennessee 16th against opposing wide receivers. And then some deep tournament sleepers for the Chiefs, just because that Houston secondary is so bad. So all of these secondary receivers after Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce have these big play, 90-yard, 80-yard touchdown type upside. Watkins, Hardman, and Demarcus Robinson. Again, those are deep tournament sleepers. Mecole Hardman, look, 1 target turns it into 10 points his last game. That's the kind of play that he is. You're hoping for something big there. If you want to get real deep into the tool shed here, you could go to the 49ers, Kendrick Bourne. They like to go to him in the red zone on occasion, but again, you're getting way down, and that's deep, 150 lineups. Or if you and your wife are playing with 300 lineups, but I'm being have maybe 1 or 2 with him in, but nothing crazy there. Let's go to tight ends. At tight end, Kelce, of course, Houston, 24th against opposing tight ends. In that first game, he was targeted 6 times, only caught 4 for 58, but Kelce's in play every week. 6.4 on DraftKings, 7.5 on FanDuel. George Kittle. I like George Kittle a lot. I think he's the best blocking tight end in the league. He's an absolute beast. You can see a few weeks back, he was targeted 17 times. In the 2 games after that, 15 times. So 32 targets in 3 weeks. Look at the fantasy points, 4 straight weeks of 16 or more. The Vikings, interestingly enough, 2nd in the league this year against opposing tight ends. But I'll certainly have some exposure to George Kittle. I like George Kittle a lot. In all my Jimmy G lineups, I'll probably pair him with George Kittle. Hope he gets in the end zone. I like George Kittle a lot, even though it is a tough matchup, interestingly enough. Mark Andrews, he's the red zone go-to guy for Lamar Jackson. He's not going to play every snap. It will be frustrating. You'll see Hurst and Boyle He is dealing with that ankle injury, but he's been dealing with that for a while. He'll still play. You can see his last 2 games, 16 targets, turned it into 42 DraftKings points. Mark Andrews, 5-6 on DraftKings, 6-8 on Fanduel. And then some value guys. Jacob Hollister. He's the number 1 tight end in Seattle. He's been targeted 18 times the last 3 games. He's got a low floor. He can get you single digits as he's done for the last 5 weeks, but he's 4K on DraftKings, 5-7 on Fanduel. Green Bay 17th against opposing tight ends. A good secondary as well. So it'll be interesting to see if they go to Jacob Hollister a little bit more from the tight end position. Darren Fells, not my favorite play. He's very inconsistent all year. One of his better games this year, though, however, was against the Chiefs, who are 22nd against opposing tight ends. In that game against the Chiefs earlier this year, he was targeted 7 times, had 6 catches for 69 yards. So I don't hate that play. Jordan Akins was targeted 3 times in that game as well. So they went 10 targets to tight ends in that Week 7 meeting. And then if you want to come down here for even more value, guys like Jonnu Smith at 3-4 and 5-3. Baltimore was number 1 in the league against opposing tight ends this year. And Kyle Rudolph, we could see they like to go to him in the red zone. He's very touchdown dependent. He was targeted 7 times last week. The 49ers do have an excellent secondary. They're also pretty good against tight ends, 4th in the league against opposing tight ends. So I hope that trend continues, obviously, because I'm rooting for my Niners this week. 3-4 on DraftKings, 5-4 on FanDuel, touchdown upside for Kyle Rudolph. Defenses. I don't think there's a ton to love at defense this week. The Ravens against Tennessee at home, of course. They're the most expensive, 3-6 and 4-8. The Chiefs at home against Houston. You have seen that Texans offense can be reined in at times and look kind of mediocre. Tough atmosphere at Arrowhead. Look, they played well that first game. They actually won that Week 7 matchup. They put up 31 points. I think that Chiefs defense is a little bit better. I'll have some exposure to the Chiefs at 3-2 and 4-2. 49ers, only 3K on DraftKings. I love that defense. My favorite DraftKings defense by far. And they are 4-6 on FanDuel. I'll certainly have exposure there. And then it's like, what? You want to go the Packers against the Seahawks? I don't hate the Packers defense. You don't expect a lot of turnovers. You're hoping for fumbles. It's not like Russell Wilson's going to go out there and throw a bunch of interceptions. But at Lambeau could be cold, especially if it's snowing. 2,800 on DraftKings. I could go there. That's about it for me. If you want to get crazy in tournaments and save a bunch of salary, you could play the Texans. Nobody's going to play them, and they're only $2,000 on DraftKings. But that's a risky proposition. You got to hope that they really shut down Patrick Mahomes. So that's a look at each position. A walkthrough for the divisional round playoffs. Again, if you want access to all the research, the tools, my player pool, the lineup optimizer, set your exposures, compare your watch players to mine, see my player pool in every sport, NBA and MLB, NHL, and of course the NFL. Click that link in the video description below. You can try Draft Dashboard for 30 days for $1. When you do, how you find my player pool to compare it to yours, if you want to use my player pool in the lineup optimizer, etc., you click your watch players tab. That'll be the players that you're watching in your player pool. And at the top, you'll see a blue box that says Watch DFS Bachelor's Picks, as well as a timestamp in Eastern Time from when I last updated it. Boom, you click that, then it's highlighted. We'll make a couple sample lineups. Again, these are just samples. This is Thursday night, late Thursday night that we're getting this video out. So just kind of an idea of one way that you can go. So we're going to make some adjustments here because I'm not playing both McCoy and Mahomes. We got Mahomes, Williams, Samuel, Adams, Sanders, Andrews, Lazard, Chiefs defense. I like the Mahomes. I like the Damian Williams. Let's see if we can get up to Carlos Hyde. Then we got Deebo Samuel. I like that. Devontae Adams. I'd really like to get Tyreek Hill. Boom. I can do something like that. I could even save it tight end and go up from Allen Lazard or up from the Chiefs defense. Like if we go down to a Darren Fells, then we can get up to that 49ers defense at 3K. We still have, 1,300? So lots of ways we can get rid of one of these Niners receivers. We can keep Deebo and go up to Hopkins. Can really stack that Chiefs-Houston game. I have absolutely zero issue with that right there. Mahomes, Hyde, Williams, Samuel, Hill, Hopkins, Fells, Lazard, 49ers D. I think that's a solid lineup right there on DraftKings. I actually really like that. Probably play that. I will play that one. Let's go to FanDuel. So we got a Lamar Jackson lineup. Again, McCoy, I don't mind it, but it's a deep tournament type sleeper. I'll probably come down here to Carlos Hyde. I like this Hyde-Williams combination. A little expensive here on FanDuel. You can go to Raheem Mostert as well. I don't mind that. Pairing it with Kelsey, we'll probably have to save some salary there. I'd love to get George Kittle involved if I could. Marquise Brown in the slot. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's just put someone here right here. Let's go to Marquise Brown over. Pair him with Lamar Jackson. Let's go there over that. Now we can save some salary here. Kenny Stills, Hollister, Emmanuel Sanders. We could do something like that. I tend to like to have 3 running backs on FanDuel. Certainly a way we could go right there. We can come down to Tyreek Hill. Then we could maybe upgrade a little bit, get another running back in, which I'd love to be able to do. But again, click the link. Try it for 30 days for $1. Create your own lineups. Compare them to mine, player pools, etc. Man, we just need to save 300 here. I don't want to save it anywhere. I don't want to save it anywhere. It'd probably be on defense. I might just go down to... I just can't get to it. Just can't get to it. That's why it's hard to get Lamar Jackson. And see, if I throw Mahomes in there, boom, we're golden. So I think that's all. Click the link. Try it for 30 days for $1. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Be part of our weekly $25 PayPal giveaway. Don't forget to check out our fantasy draft video for this weekend. See if you are one of our 3 winners for our $25 Hooters main event entry giveaway. If you don't have a fantasy draft account, that link is below as well. You could click that, comment with your fantasy draft username in the comment section. May the fantasy gods be with you all. Good luck this weekend. Thank you all so much. I truly do appreciate you. Best of luck, NBA, NFL, etc. We'll see you all with our NBA videos and all that. If you are watching this on Saturday or Friday night, we will see you Monday morning. If you're watching this Thursday night, we'll see you tomorrow with all the NBA videos. Blah, 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 blah. Love you all. Bye, folks.